My fellow citizens, it is a great privilege to address for the first time my fellow Indians living within our country and in 100 corners across the globe on the 65th anniversary of our independence. Words cannot adequately express my gratitude to the people and their representatives for the honor of this high office, even as I am deeply conscious of the fact that the highest honor in our democracy does not lie in any office, but in being a citizen of India, our motherland. We are all equal children before our mother, and India asks each one of us, in whatsoever role we play in the complex drama of nation building, to do our duty with integrity, commitment, and unflinching loyalty to the values enshrined in our Constitution. It is important to remember on Independence Day that in the age of empires, freedom was never given, it was taken. It was won by a generation of giants led by a mighty man of destiny, Mahatma Gandhi, who fought with selfless, unflinching conviction against the mightiest power in history, with a moral force that transformed political thought and whose reverberations echo in great events all around us today. If the rise of European colonization began in 18th century India, then the rallying cry of Jai Hind also signaled the end in 1947. The final call to victory, Jai Hind, was given by Subhash Chandra Bose, fondly known to every Indian as Netaji. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Sarojini Naidu, and many others charted the roadmap of independent India. These extraordinary men and women sacrificed their 2 days for our tomorrows. That tomorrow has come, and there is a question we must ask ourselves: have we honored the great vision of these stalwarts as a nation and as a society? I was a toddler when Netaji, as Rashtrapati of the 51st session of Indian National Congress in Haripura, on the banks of the river Tapti, reminded us that our chief national problems are eradication of poverty, illiteracy, and disease. His speech echoed through my home as it did through millions of others. My father was a freedom fighter, and through those long years when freedom seemed an illusion, we were sustained by faith in ourselves, in our leaders, in the strength of nonviolence, in the courage of Indians liberated from fear. But we knew then, as we do now, that freedom must mean both bread and dreams. Netaji and Nehruji believed that India could seize the future by an application of synthesis, samavad, of what might seem on surface to be implacable opposites. They believed that free India would become, by example, an alternative model for post-colonial world through economic equity and a social revolution inspired by harmony between communities that had been misled into hostility. Propelled by freedom of faith, gender equality, and economic justice for all, India will become a modern nation. Minor blemishes cannot cloak the fact that India is becoming such a modern nation. No faith is in danger in our country, and the continuing commitment to gender equality is one of the great narratives of our times. My fellow citizens, I am not a pessimist. For me, the glass is always half full rather than half empty. I would go to the extent of saying that the glass of modern India is more than half full. Our productive working class, our inspiring farmers who have lifted a famine-wrecked land to food surplus status, our imaginative industrialists, entrepreneurs, whether in the private or public sector, our intellectuals, our academics, and our political class have knit together a modern nation that has leapt within mere decades across many centuries in economic growth and progressive social legislation. We cannot appreciate how far we have travelled until we understand from where we started in 1947. As Jawaharlal Nehru pointed out so often in his speeches and prose, India was not a poor country when our independence was snatched away. No one, I may add, travels thousands of miles to conquer a poor country. Statistics published by contemporary international scholars are proof for skeptics. In 1750, 7 years before the fateful Battle of Plassey, India had 24.5% of world manufacturing output, while United Kingdom had only 1.9%. In other words, 1 in every 4 goods on the world market was manufactured in India. By 1900, India had been left with only 1.7% of world manufacturing output, and Britain had risen to 18.5%. The Western Industrial Revolution was in its incipient stages in the 18th century, but even in this regard, India slipped from 7 to 1 in per capita industrialization. In the period while Britain vaulted from 10 to 100. Between 1900 and 1947, India's economic growth was an annual average of 1%. From such depths, we climbed first to 3% growth and then took a quantum leap forward. Today, despite 2 great international crises that rocked the world and some domestic dips, we have posted an average growth rate of more than 8% over the last 7 years. If our economy has achieved critical mass, then it must become a launching pad for the next leap. We need a second freedom struggle, this time to ensure that India is free forever from hunger, disease and poverty. As my preeminent predecessor, Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, speaking from this platform on the 18th anniversary of freedom, said, "Economic progress is one of the tests of democracy."